Welcome back, everybody, to These Aren't the Nerds You're Looking For. Lorenzo Fawn here, sitting with...
Kevin Horde.
How's it going, man?
Doing well, buddy.
We're catching up. We're slowly playing catch-up on Star Wars Resistance here.
We'll get there. It's all good.
Yeah, we'll get there. We're not too far behind. We will discuss From Beneath today. That is Season 2, Episode 6 of Star Wars Resistance, original air date of November 10th, 2019. I have this one as being directed by Stuart Lee, written by Kevin Burke and Chris Doc Wyatt.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sounds all correct so far.
Should I just get into the summary and we'll go from there?
Let's do it.
All right. As always, warning for the Star Wars Resistance episode. That is From Beneath. I will reveal all plot of the entire episode here. So if you have not seen it, turn away now.
Yeah, just put us on pause. Go ahead and watch that on Disney Now, or I don't know where people are watching this thing, to be honest.
DVR or Disney Now would be your two places, basically. The Disney Channel if you're watching it live.
Yep.
So
there you go.
Yeah. So that said, diving into the episode, you've been warned. So we start with Torra, Kaz, Flix, Orka, and CB-23 flying through a storm on a planet called Dragor 3. This is Flix's home planet. They are there for fuel. We're back on the fuel train. They are headed to a station owned by Flix's cousins. We meet Flix's cousins. His name is Flanks, one of them, and it was previously owned by an Uncle Flug who is now retired. Flanks is now in charge. We meet Flix's family at large, and they have been deep core drilling. Flix has concerned about this as there are legends of a dragon that lies beneath the surface of the planet. Kaz and crew will go fix a stuck drill in exchange for fuel. They board an elevator. We get a little discussion as the elevator is descending. Flanks thinks the dragon is a legend, but Kaz and Torra do see something in the fog as they are descending into the planet. The mine elevator begins to fall. A few rocks and stuff fall onto it. It goes into full free fall. Torra and Orka are able to get off the elevator before it goes into a full free fall. They kind of grab onto the shaft ladder thing that it's connected to. CB-23, Kaz, Flix, and Flanks, however, fall with the elevator. They land on the bottom. They are okay. Kaz is separated at this point from CB, Flix, and Flanks, but they are just across a cavern from one another. They are able to communicate. Kaz will just have to take the long way around. Torra and Orka will continue to climb upwards to get back to the shuttle, as that will be their only way out of this cave. As Kaz is making his way around, he does encounter the dragon. He seems to stand still, and the dragon seems to not see him while standing still. He does eventually reunite with the others. He fixes the drill. The dragon returns, destroys the drill, and then takes Flanks into another cave deeper in. Torra and Orka make it to the surface. We cut back down, and Kaz helps Flanks escape the dragon. Torra and Orka, after a brief little discussion with the rest of the family, do get their shuttle back and start heading on down. It turns out that there are multiple dragons. Kaz realizes that the dragons can only see movement, so if they stand still, they aren't seen. Flix has a plan to distract the dragons while Kaz turns on the lights, which seem to distract the dragons as well. This plan works. Torra arrives and scares off the dragons even more so with the light coming from the shuttle. Flanks used the drill to collapse the cave entrance from which the dragons emerged. We head back onto the surface. Flanks officially ceases all deep core drilling, and Flanks goes ahead and gives our crew all the fuel they need. And then our Colossus crew head off planet, and we cue fanfare.
Cue fanfare.
Yeah. Where do you want to begin with this?
One
other note. We have Flanks is voiced by Paul F. Tompkins. Fleck is voiced by John Ennis. And we have a Florb and Fleas who are they are both voiced by Pete Holmes. So we got a decent roster of comedians showing up for this episode.
Did it pay off?
I think it was worthy. Yeah. Flix was pretty cool. Especially Paul F. Tompkins. Paul F. Tompkins has a very noticeable voice. So as soon as he showed up, I figured it was Paul F. Tompkins. Did not really need the credits to prove that to me. But Pete Holmes was the one I was pretty sure and was glad to see that confirmed as well. So, yeah. It's a cool crew.
Yeah. Let's jump into the Gozo, which is Flix species.
Yes.
They're all pretty much identical in design.
Yep.
Now, some of them kind of have different accoutrements. I think Flix has kind of like a vesty thing. Is it a vesty thing or is it a belty thing?
He has like some sort of, he has some sort of upper body coverings and a helmet. The helmet is how I could tell them apart.
Yeah, for sure.
Flix has the goggles that flip up and down. That's how I could tell who he was throughout the whole episode. The other three, this Fleck, Flob, and Fleas, were basically interchangeable to me. I don't even know why Flob and Fleas are two separate characters, honestly.
Yeah, I don't know. Couldn't tell you.
Yep.
They all start with FL. Like, they're all FL names.
Right.
Do you think this is a family thing? Or do you think this is a species thing?
No, I think this is a family thing.
Okay.
This seems family specific to this family. Yeah. Because even then, we have an Uncle Flug.
Right.
Who is mentioned but never seen.
Do you think Uncle Flug is dead?
No, I think he's just chilling on not Dragor 3.
Where do we know? This is the first we've ever heard of the Gozo, right? Like, this is when they are identified.
Yeah, I believe so. Can we quickly discuss the weird abrupt jump from last week's episode where the Colossus jumps to light speed, and you and I had huge questions about
where they going,
where they went. And then this episode is just the side mission. We get the little crew here on a mission for fuel.
Right. So I'm guessing that what they did was jumped somewhere and then regathered. I don't know, maybe they're like, shit, we have like enough fuel for like one more jump. Where are we going? And Flix is like, we're gonna go to my Flox fuel refinery. And then they headed there. That's the only thing that I can think of, because it definitely seems like, going from last episode to this episode, that they jumped somewhere, and where they ended up happened to be close to Dragor 3. That's a little too convenient for me.
Right. My feeling is that this episode might have been meant to be either placed earlier in the season, like maybe before Live Fire, or maybe even before whatever the episode is where they need to get the coaxium.
Yeah, quick salvage run,
right? But then they like realized there'd be too many like fuel related episodes too close to each other, so it'd just be redundant and oddly overlapping.
Yeah, it couldn't be before a quick salvage run, because we have Into the Unknown, which is the first episode, which is where we find out where the Colossus ended up. Right. And then they kind of meander over to where
Celsar 3.
No.
Or quick salvage run stuff.
They meander over to a quick salvage run stuff to where the Resistance base is. Why am I blanking on this planet name?
Oh, Dakar.
Yep.
Dakar.
Yep. So they were in the presumably they made it to the Ilenium system, and they make it over to Dakar, right, without hyperspace fuel. So that's why they have to do the salvage run. They have to get the coaxium. This isn't coaxium. This is just regular fuel.
Right.
which makes it even more confusing because are they just going to... They're going to just use their sublight drives to, like, cruise around through space? Like, I would assume that they only need that fuel to, like, when they're not traveling in hyperspace. Unless it's, like, a combo and they need both. Maybe coaxium is, like... I don't know, because coaxium is very heavily set up as, like, the fuel of spaceships.
Right.
And this is different. And this is not coaxium. This is just fuel.
Yeah, so I wonder if there's like coaxium used for the actual, in our real world settings, let's call it the combustion engine, right? But the fuel that they're getting here is equivalent to, say, the car battery,
maybe,
which runs the electric systems. Is like that makes sense. I'm not saying there's a 1-to-1 equivalent here, but.
Right.
Different systems need different fuel.
I don't know, because it's described as a fuel refinery is where they're going. And I was also thinking, like, maybe this fuel runs, like, the smaller ships and stuff. But then we've also seen that, like, the Millennium Falcon has a need for coaxium.
Right.
Right. So... I don't know. It's a little bizarre. But then the Colossus itself is like a big fuel place. So there's definitely two different types of fuel. I'm going to have to look into this. I'm wondering if there is like a legit in-universe answer, or if it's just kind of like, I don't know. Sometimes you need fuel. Sometimes you need coaxium. And I honestly never thought... never questioned the difference until right now.
Right.
I think it is nice that we do get a species out of this episode.
Yeah, for sure.
For Flix. And I guess Flix is actually based on a design by Ralph McQuarrie, of course, for its early concept sketches for the Ewoks.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I guess he had a couple of designs, and Wikipedia is saying the more bird-like designs inspired the Gozo, while the others were used as the basis of the Yuzum species, and the Yuzum would be the lounge singer in the special edition of Return of the Jedi.
Very nice.
So the big hairy guy with the knobby nose.
Right.
That has spittle clinging to his teeth.
Man, they were real proud of that shot when that happened in 1997.
They definitely
so
were.
Proud. But I do like Flix and Orka. I like them a lot, and I like having an episode kind of centered around them to some degree.
Yep.
I must repeat, though, it's the fact that this episode is placed here is still such a weird placement for it.
Maybe we'll have to see what happens next.
Right.
Maybe, because sometimes this show does kind of leave you with questions, and then when you see like the next step in the story, you're like, okay, I get it. That makes sense.
Right.
So potentially that is what's going on here. The other thing that I can think of is that it's a story that they wanted to tell, and it doesn't really have to have like a solidified spot in the timeline. So it's just kind of like we'll fit it in wherever it works well.
Right.
I will say that thus far we haven't had like the weird shuffle of production / release that the Clone Wars definitely did. Right. And we had, I think we had a little bit of that in season 1, just by where like all the shorts and stuff were like produced in the middle or something. I don't know. There was one odd little jump where things did not sync up anymore as far as production and release, but season 2 has been straightforward, like season 2 episode 1 is production code 201 and so on, all the way down the line. So this seems to be where this portion of the story was intended to be.
I mean, as of now, it's fitting in like McClunky is how it's fitting in. So.
Okay, nice description.
That's gonna be the newest Star Wars reference I can make right at this moment.
Let's talk about Flix and Orka a little bit more, because this is supposed to be the story that solidifies them as a same-sex couple, right?
Is it?
Yeah, and like in canon, they are like the first official same-sex relationship.
Based on what?
There's like 2 lines, right? When Torra and Orka are climbing up the ladder, Orka wants to give up, and Torra gives him a little pep talk and is like, hey, everybody needs you. Flix needs you. And Orka kind of like rolls his eyes or something, or, you know, gives an exasperated response, right? And Torra's like, hey, man. He was like, yeah, I know. I love the guy. I'd do anything for him or whatever, and I guess that's supposed to be his motivation to push forward, right? And then when they finally do get to the top, right? When they're topside, and Orka goes off on the rest of the flock, and he's like, "Hey, this is what Flix needs," and he's sticking his neck out to do things for you guys. We're gonna fix the drill. We're gonna save him, and you're gonna give him the fuel that he deserves because he's part of this family, blah, 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 blah. And they walk off, they being Orka and Torra, and then the 3 members of the flock, Flug, and Florb, or whoever they are, right?
Close enough. Enough.
One of them says to another one, like, oh, I can see why Orka likes that guy.
Yeah, I mean, sure, I get it. I mean, I guess this is the equivalent of Josh Gad and random other dude locking eyes at the end of Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, I think it's if the intention is to do what it kind of, I wouldn't even say it was like announced that like this is what's going to happen, but around the time that this episode came out, maybe slightly before, around that time, it was, like Slash Film and Screen Rant and Cinema Blend, blah, blah, blah. Everybody was like, Flix and Orka officially the first gay couple in Star Wars. And if... I think it's... What I'm trying to say is I think it's a little bit weak.
Oh, completely. No. It's not a little bit weak. We're
like, if that's what you want to do, you want to establish these people as being in an intimate relationship, then do it. I mean, I get it. It's a kid's show, but you don't beat around the bush and then try to say.
Here's my thing though. From your approach there, like, look, I haven't heard anybody from Lucasfilm say this.
Okay.
If somebody from Lucasfilm said that, then yes, I would agree with you. This is weak sauce, right? If it's Cinema Blend or whatever, like putting their spin on it,
I don't think it's like putting spin on it though.
Well, because like here's the other equivalent is like we had Legend of Korra in, spoiler alerts, in the finale we had Korra and what's her name, Azusa or something like that. Azula, God, it's been years. But anyways, after they have had a string of bad relationships to other men, in the very final episode, they literally walk off into a different dimension holding hands. Mm-hmm. That sprung off a lot of that speculation, like, oh, are they a same-sex couple? Like, what's going on here? Then the creators came out and went, yes, it is exactly what you think it is.
Right?
Like, that I'll go along with. But as for official word from any of the writers, creators of Resistance, I've not seen it. So unless you find it,
Okay, here we go. In an interview with the podcast Coffee with Kenobi, executive producers Athena Portillo, Justin Ridge, and Brandon Allman confirmed that Orka and Flix are a romantic couple.
Okay.
So
if this is the establishment, then I agree with you. Yes.
Yeah.
That this is weak. Look, like,
Justin Bridge said, I think it's safe to say that they are an item. They're absolutely a gay couple, and we're proud of that.
right,
So if this is meant to be the reveal, and I don't even want to put the term of reveal.
right.
You know, I think it's, if you're gonna do it, do it.
Officiation.
You know.
Look, I'm curious to see how the show's not over yet, so as to this, I'm curious to see if this develops more. I would feel a lot different if this was like the end and we had like a Dumbledore situation,
Yeah.
right? Like,
I agree
that's
with
different to me too, right?
Like, they're not quite Dumbledored, but
Right.
They're about one step below that. And I think honestly, just like a little bit of dialogue correction here, and like instead of Floob or Fleeb or Flop or whatever saying, I know why he likes that guy, like just saying, like, definitively, like, I can totally see why he chose him as a life mate, or, you know, just
Right.
like make it solid, man. Like, don't be wishy-washy about it. Don't be mealy mouthed.
Especially like literally in Return of the Jedi, the reason we have Luke asking Yoda if Darth is Luke's father and Yoda explicitly saying yes is because George Lucas knew that kids needed that like extreme clarification, right?
Yeah.
So for a children's show to kind of like beat around the bush in this way, like, I think just does more of a disservice to the inclusion of
I totally agree with you. And then, like, there's even that scene, like from season 1 where they think they're gonna die because the First Order's attacking, and they like lock themselves in a crate together. That would have been a prime opportunity to make things solid if that's the way that it was gonna be. You know what I mean?
right.
The opportunity is there. And the intent is there, but the execution is poor.
Right. I mean, again, it's if this, I don't know. There are ways to do it, and look, the thing is, I wouldn't have even thought about it until you brought it up. I didn't think about it until you brought it up, right? So, I'm really curious to see if this develops more as we go along, right? It's just because basically, even after this episode to me didn't like say establish their relationship or strengthen their relationship the way even last week's episode kind of strengthened the bonds of friendship between Niku and Kaz.
I agree with you.
Right? This episode is definitely like another weird little sidestep of there's an issue and we got to get through it, but I don't feel any sort of character movement, right? Like, I don't feel like Kaz or Torra or Flix and Orka leave this any better than they were going into it, per se, right? Like, new relationships are forged in terms of Flix and his family kind of coming together again. But as for our Colossus crew themselves, I
will slightly disagree with you on in regards to Kaz.
Okay.
Because Kaz does, I don't know if I would say he takes another step forward in his characterization, but as last week or last episode, whatever, I brought up the fact that like Kaz is starting to kind of do the things he needs to do and being less bumbling boy, right? In this episode, like when the elevator is plummeting, presumably to everyone's death, right?
Right.
I think Orka, Flix tries to like activate this handbrake, right? And then something happens, the dragon appears, there's like another quake or something. They're distracted, and when Torra is like, hey, everybody jump, like, let's get off this thing, grab onto this deal, we'll climb up. Flix lets go of the thing, and Kaz immediately looks over, runs over, and instead of like saving his own butt, like he's going like I'm gonna hold this break in place. Like he's the one that steps in to do the thing that needs to be done to help save everybody else. He's got a couple of those moments in this episode,
Right.
so I like that portion where it is showing Kaz's development a little bit, where he's not. He's not being the panicky, selfish one. Selfish is a bad term to use here. It's not correct, but in the past, I think he was too concerned.
Self-centered,
Yeah, and then both of those seem like purposeful. He was too distracted by self-preservation or fear or whatever, right? To do the thing that needed to be done.
Well, here's my thing is like these are all traits that he still had like last week too.
Yeah, like I said, he definitely doesn't take another step forward, but it's like kind of more.
It's further examples of the growth,
exactly.
But I wouldn't say that this episode specifically has further growth.
Okay, fair enough.
But I do like the introduction, or is it an introduction? But like these dragon things that show up, we haven't seen too many of.
No, this really reminded me of like the Zillow Beast,
right,
from the Clone Wars. But instead of Godzilla, we got T-Rex, right?
Yep.
And it's very Jurassic Parkian in the way that like these things can only see you if you move, and like even the roar sounds similar to Rexy, and but then we also have like that Zillow Beast thing where they're like trapped in caves down under, and it's an outside force that opens up their world to the surface world. So that was kind of like a repeated beat,
For sure.
of monster moviness. How do you feel that they worked overall?
I think as a creature, I think they're pretty cool. These are the Carnex dragons officially.
Yep.
Is what they're named. This is in fact their first appearance in the Star Wars universe. The story here, again, it's this story plopped where it is just so befuddling to me. But I think as a standalone story, it does what it needs to do. I guess the idea that there are multiple dragons is interesting.
I mean, this is an episode of family, so I guess it does make sense that even the monsters have family. Right.
Yeah. Coming to the end where like the flanks ties in the theme of like, well, like the dragon was just scared because it was trying to protect its family, as do we, and now you will get the fuel, right? Like,
that's a nice little bit that the I guess the big bad of the episode or the scary antagonist or whatever you want to call it, kind of mirrors the development of what's going on with our friendly, flocked, feathered friends, right? But I had the same problem with the Zillow Beast. Like, how do these things exist underground?
Yeah, what are they eating?
What do they eat? How do they sustain? Like, do they dig their own tunnels? They're not. That's not earthworms like digging through dirt. These are large scaled beasts that exist in tunnels, and then it's hard to tell, but like when they land on the fuel refinery platform, like there seems to be kind of multiple spires or canyons or something going on with the topography of this planet itself. And I don't know if they're just like going down into these canyons and then drilling. And this is described as deep core drilling, which is why Flix freaks out, because that's against the legends of the planet, right? But at some point in time, the drill gets down deep, but there's these giant caverns, and the reason that the dragons attack is because they accidentally drilled into like their little tunnel,
Right.
which by all
Like their
accounts,
actual home. Yeah.
what I can see is a literal tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like these things just live in a tunnel.
I guess. Yeah.
And if they need to be out in these caverns to survive, I think Torra like gave him a death sentence when... Was it her or was it the cousin that like blasted the door with the drill and
The cousin did.
closed him back off in there?
Yeah.
It's just weird. I guess I'd
Yeah.
probably
Flix
think
did
about
that
it
with the
too
drill.
much.
Yeah.
They
I don't know. Like I don't. The full workings of how the dragons live doesn't bother me. It's more of anything story related to them or what they're even doing on Dragor 3.
I mean, with a name like Dragor 3, you would imagine that there would be dragons.
I don't know.
And it's
Yeah.
also weird they're called Karnax dragons. Like, you'd think they would be like Dragor dragons
Or just Dragors? I don't
or
know.
Karnax dragors.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think the design of them is really cool, and I really like
Yeah.
the element that it's the way to fight against them is light.
Yeah.
That totally makes sense because they're like a deep underground creature. Just the fact that they live in little rock holes underground that are inaccessible to anything and everything is my hang up with them.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything else you got?
I always come back to fuel. This seems to be that if I had to describe the overall MacGuffin of the Disney era Star Wars, be it films, animation, or other, it would be fuel.
Yeah. Like, I'm going to get real sad if Mandalorian, like, the next episode turns into a search for fuel.
I mean, that's going to happen at some point in time, and it was brought up in Chapter 1 when he's talking to, forgive me, I don't remember the guy's name, the dude that's giving him the jobs at the beginning.
I don't remember the character's name, but Carl Weathers.
Yep. And he's like 5,000 credits. That'll barely cover fuel there and back.
Right.
So
yeah.
I mean, it's already a thing.
Yes. Oh yeah.
But yeah.
But I'm just waiting for an actual episode searching for fuel. So.
Yeah, I guess we'll see on that one. It's Mandalorian's been pretty good so far, but this is not.
We'll
the
talk about that
episode
some other time
to discuss such things. The only other thing I had on this episode is the whole Flix wanted to be a cantina singer.
Yeah, it's such a weird little detail.
It is.
This is a detail that does nothing for me.
I have thoughts on it that I don't know that I really want to share, but it's just it seems like an odd choice. Like, of all the different things that Flix could have aspired to be,
Hey man,
cantina singer.
yeah, I'm curious about how the world of entertainment celebrityism works in the Star Wars universe.
I mean, you read from a certain point of view, right?
Yes.
So some of that's covered in there.
I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we've only got like 2 musical celebrities that we know of, like Max Rebo and Figrin Dan, the modal nodes.
Yeah.
And then there's this other, the Yuzum guy. I don't know what his name is. And Cy Snoodles. There's another one. Yeah, I don't really know. That's interesting, though.
Yeah.
Cantina singer.
Hey, man.
That's an odd choice.
If I can get a Flix animatronic at Galaxy's Edge, then that'd be a wee bit more entertaining than Rex. DJ Rex.
Fair enough. Yeah.
If they can set that up, that's what we get.
There you go, DJ Rex. That's another one. That's like 5.
But are they celebrities though? Like, or are they like local bands? Are they like the local band status? Right?
No.
Like who?
I think Max Rebo is a celebrity.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get at. Like, who's the Lady Gaga of this universe, and who's the insert local band? Right? Right.
I don't know, but now I want to see the Lady Gaga of this universe.
Oh, Lady Gaga would fit in this universe, no problem.
I
as
think
basically herself.
Yeah, that's probably where she's from. Yeah, that would be sweet.
But yeah, that's the thing I'm trying to figure out, because like we've seen in Clone Wars when they were like listening to music and it was still like on the holo. There was like a holo performance the clones were listening to, right? So I'm trying to figure out, like, is that just a small little artist somebody knows, or is that like a well-known established artist, or is that like a holo recording of a Cantina singer that somebody just happened to like, sort of thing, right?
Wasn't it just like the DJ, like the robot DJ that you
I
could
thought we
see?
had one of like a singer. I don't know. That was a while back. So
I don't remember. I mean, we definitely have that bit in the holiday special.
Well, yeah. Was that more singer, or was that more?
There was definitely a sexual one, but there's
right.
There's a singing, dancing thing also.
Yeah.
I think Itchy watches the Itchy watches the porn, but I think that Chewie's son, Lumpy watches. I guess that's more of like a circus performance deal, though.
Right.
So scratch that thought.
Yeah, I can't help you with that one. All I remember really is the 30 minutes of zero dialogue leading into Itchy watching porn.
I mean, that's just because you don't speak Shirewook.
Right.
You know,
and then
you spoke
B.
Shirewook.
Arthur. Yeah.
And be out there. Carrie Fisher's got her musical number at the end.
Right. Dear God. Anyways, yeah. I don't. Maybe Cantina singers are well renowned on the planets that they perform in. Right?
Could
So.
be. Yeah. But what's you got a thumbs up, thumbs down here, or do you got a one word review of this bad boy?
I'll definitely start with the thumbs down.
Okay.
Start with that. This again, this is sort of the opposite flip side of last week, where I don't think this is an awful episode by any means. I just didn't care. This is not an episode that I feel like I'm going to remember in about 2 weeks or 2 days.
Okay.
As soon as we stop recording this, I don't. It's misplaced. Might be my one word review. I just don't know what this episode has to do with anything in the bigger picture.
Okay.
Right. I think that's part of my problem right now with season 2 of Clone Wars Clone Wars Resistance overall.
Yeah.
Is that we're getting like little episodes that are like entertaining on their own to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
But for a show like this, that again has announced a definite end date.
Yeah.
It's not really giving me a reason to like stick around and care. There's nothing here that's like pulling me in. It's the like the love of the characters can only kind of bring me so far.
Mm-hmm.
And especially in this season especially in an episode like this, like with season 1, I kind of liked that dynamic in the workshop with Niku and Kaz, Tam and Yeager, like all kind of on each other's butts, like fixing shit.
Yeah, we don't really have like a home stage for season 2 yet.
Right, exactly. So then like Yeager is like up in the tower, like dealing with stuff, and Kaz is off fixing random stuff. Niku's fixing other things, right? We got Torra showing up, kind of filling in the void of where Tam was before.
Yeah, and like with the first episode of season 2, like when Dozer reveals like the bridge, essentially, right?
Mm-hmm.
The command room or whatever they call it, like I would have expected that to be kind of home base of operations,
Right.
as Yeager's shop was. Not the case though. Real quick, let me throw in my ratings here.
Mm-hmm.
This one barely edged to the thumbs up department.
Mm-hmm.
And I my one word review here is just a sidestep.
Yeah.
And this is kind of opposite of last week's episode, whereby that one was better in like the whole, and I think this one is maybe better in isolation.
Yeah.
So, like I said, hopefully moving forward, some of the stuff is gonna kind of tie together. But I totally agree with you that
I think we've been hoping for that for like 3 episodes now, right? You know, like that's my thing. Like I agree with you. As a standalone episode, I think this episode has a setup.
Mm-hmm.
It has a good arc.
Mm-hmm.
It wraps it up nicely.
Mm-hmm.
The story closes.
Mm-hmm.
I think on those terms, yes, this is a good episode.
Right, but when you put it in when it's a puzzle piece of the whole, it
Yeah. So I definitely agree with you on the sidestep thing here. Yeah. So,
and I totally agree with your judgment of calling this thing misplaced. Here's a question for you.
yes.
If we didn't know this series was ending after this season, would it affect your judgment of this episode?
No, I would still be concerned about what we're doing here and why we have this weird sidestep.
Fair enough.
Yeah, absolutely. But because I'm not gonna even lie, episode 2 of Mandalorian had me concerned for that same reason, and we don't have any sort of definitive end on that show. You know,
Yeah, you'll have to save that commentary for when
For
we
sure.
talk about the Mandalorian.
that's a small little preview into how I feel about Mandalorian right now.
I will not comment.
Right. So for this one specifically, it's not that the show is ending and that we're taking this weird sidestep that's like taking me out of it. It's the fact that it is a sidestep at all. I would feel better if this were maybe the first sidestep of the season, but with the Hunt on Seltzer 3 episode occurring just 2 episodes prior.
Mm-hmm. It's like
The fact
every
that-
other one.
Right.
A quick salvage run. Well, I guess it really like Live Fire.
Yeah, Live Fire was
Hunt
sort
on
of a
Seltzer
sidestep.
3, and then From Beneath.
Yeah.
So we're batting 50-50 here, really.
Yeah, we're kind of all over the place in terms of like a story arc, right? There's no cohesive story arc overall that's happening for me.
Yeah. I can agree
so
with you there.
Regardless of if season 2 was the end or not, I feel like up to this point in season 2, I would just have the same concerns all around.
Okay, fair enough.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You got anything else for From Beneath?
No, that's everything I have. That's all I can think of. Please, no more fuel-related episodes for the rest of this entire fucking season.
Yeah,
That's
well,
gonna be
we
the
got a
major-
ways to go, so I guess we will see.
Oh, boy.
Next week, we have an episode called The Relic Raiders, and just based on the title of that episode and the fact that we
already
had
shaking my
like a
head.
Jurassic Park thing going on with this episode, are we on like a knockoff Spielberg trip
God.
here?
Everybody
diversion,
is,
or
nobody can see me except for you. I'm shaking my head. I did not know that was next week's episode.
Yep, that's what it's called, The Relic Raiders.
I already feel another sidestep coming. That's like, why are we rating relics right now? Unless they reveal the intentions of the First Order or the Knights of Ren or something.
So I am not going to lie. I have seen this episode.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to get a character popping up that we haven't seen in a while. I'll leave it at that. For all you guys out there that have not seen it yet or have, send us your comments. Lorenzo is still shaking his head. He does not look too enthused to move forward with this thing, but we will be.
I think that was one of my reviews. Like, that was the other thing I've been mentioning in previous reviews. If not for this show, this podcast that you and I record, reviewing this show, I would not continue with this series. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, your season one word review overall was mediocre.
Mm-hmm.
And then you started off Into the Unknown, underwhelming. So there you go.
Yeah, I would have stopped watching the show and then binged it later, like Clone Wars style.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, nah.
I'm still hopeful. I think we're gonna get some traction here soon, and fire through to the end. And by the time that episode 9 comes out, you're gonna be like,
no,
holy shit, man.
No, I don't see it. I'm calling it now. You're much more optimistic than I am, but I don't see the show turning around.
Well, I guess we'll see.
We shall see. Until then, you can always reach out to us. Notthenerds.com is an easy place to find all of our stuff if you'd like. All the episodes via YouTube are posted there. And if you would like to reach out to Kevin, our artist, who put together the cover art, he is at They Call Me KDub on Twitter. Also, Lindsay at strangefantasymusic@gmail.com if you would like. She put together the jingle that you hear at the beginning and end of every episode of our show. And also Blue the Beard on Twitter, correct?
You got it.
All right, I got it. He's the fella that put together our website there.
These are all friends of mine, and just made me think that Lorenzo's friends are slacking in the department of contributing to the show.
Sure. Yeah, I do not have graphically artist friends, not in these terms. But if you would like to reach out to us, Facebook, Twitter, those are places you can reach out to us. But it's all listed on notthenerds.com for sure. But wherever you're listening to us, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play, please give us a like, subscribe. As always, tell us what you think of our show for sure. We do like reading all of those comments.
Yeah.
Until then, I've been Lorenzo Fon.
Kevin Horde here.
These aren't the nerds you're looking for.
Bye-bye.